All the men looked like overgrown 10-year-olds.
Do you do it yourself?
In today's video, gents, I'm reacting to a recent interview in which Jordan Peterson talks about why men should always dress sharp.
I've done 7 tour lectures so far, and with an average audience size of about 2,500, and they're going great. They're unbelievably positive. Almost everybody dresses up, which I think is really cool.
Really?
Yeah, well,
I've actually noticed that whenever they pan the audience and Jordan Peterson is giving a presentation, people do dress up, especially the men. Maybe not so much the women, especially those a little bit more left-leaning, trying to maybe go in and disrupt what he's saying. But the guys, for the most part, they're looking good. They are wearing, suits. Yeah.
when I went out on tour in 2018, before I went out, I thought I wanted to do this like 100% right.
Also note that everybody in this interview is actually wearing a jacket. Why? Jackets build up the shoulders. They make you look better. And in case you don't know the history, Patrick Bet David, actually, I was on his channel early on when he was just getting started talking about style. He's an Army veteran, got just a great channel. If you haven't checked it out, I'll link to it down in the description. Love what he covers, and he talks on a lot of controversial topics. But again, yeah, just simply look at these guys right here, looking sharp, looking good.
At least as close to that as I could manage. So I went out and bought some expensive suits, and I spent way more money on, this is one of them actually.
You look great, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Way more money than I ever thought I'd spend on clothes, and I really felt quite bad about it.
So let's talk about that really quick. Why do men in particular feel bad about spending money on themselves for nice clothing, nice watches, other accessories, things like that? I think a lot of it is to do with society telling us it shouldn't matter. Yes, spend the money on other people, on your family, on your education, but don't spend anything on your clothing. Why? Because it shouldn't matter. What matters is what's in your heart. But here's the reality, is nobody sees what's in your heart. They don't see the degree that is right there sitting in your brain. You spend all that money on. What they see is what they see. And the clothing covers 80, 90% of your body. You better believe it makes a difference. People do judge a book by a cover because it allows them to shortcut. It allows them to make sense of the world. There is just too much information out there. So we all have stereotypes. We all have beliefs of simply where we put people in a box. You see a man in a suit. What do you think? Bro, probably successful. Somebody that dresses well. Someone that has a bit of style. You see a guy that looks just a little bit sketchy. Maybe something how you perceive someone that would threaten you. So you treat them like a threat. You treat them like success. You see somebody in a uniform, a firefighter. He walks in and says, everybody get out of this room. 200 people are going to get up and get out. A naked man runs in. People are going to laugh and call the police because they think it's a crazy guy. Point being is we make decisions based off of what we see in our perceptions of the clothing. And that right there, Jordan gets it. Yeah, and that's why he spent the money.
I thought maybe it was an extravagance, but I thought, no way, man, I'm going to see if I can nail this dead on. And I'm going to be speaking to, 100,000 people. I'm going to look as sharp as I possibly can. And one of the consequences of that has been that young men in particular come to the lecture tour dressed up in suits, 3-piece suits. Or the couples come and they're dressed up like they're coming to a wedding. And
let's also hit on this point that he knew he was going to be giving these presentations. He cannot control the way his audience reacts. But one thing he can control is the way that he presents himself. There's a whole study, actually it was done with musicians, in which the way that they were dressed betrayed expectations. This was for classical music, and they actually had the guys go out very casually dressed versus the people that were dressed very well. What's interesting is they played a recording. It was the same exact music, but when different groups saw somebody that did not look the part, they rated their music as lower. Again, it was the exact same music from the exact same recordings, but these people, based off of perception of the clothing, it doesn't match up. So, if you're a rocker, well, dress like a rocker. A friend of mine, Tim, he was a drummer in a band, and he talked about this. They looked like frat boys getting out there on the band, and they got really bad reviews. And they decided, you know what, we're going to step it up. And all of a sudden, they started wearing Western hats mixed in with rockabilly stuff, mixed in with some heavy metal, and just really pushing, going with some crazy boots, crazy glasses. It was an outlandish look, but it worked for them because all of a sudden they had stage presence because they looked the part of a rock band.
So that's really something. And
why do you think that is? Is it because you set that
they're
standard?
Sick acting like kids.
Okay.
Our whole culture pushes the idea that teenage life or even childhood for that matter, but teenage life is some sort of pinnacle. And then
this is why I'm so big about you guys dressing in a way to set the example for those around you, your little brother, your family. I know when I dress well, my daughters have told me, you know, like, hey, Dad, you know, I'm going to make sure I want to marry a guy like you. And I appreciate that. I try to love their mother, and I try to do all these things that show how a woman should be treated, how a man and a woman should have a great, healthy relationship. And I want my kids to be able to see that, because it's not what we say, it's what we do that people really react to.
everybody dresses down, so they look, especially men, they look like overgrown 10-year-olds, and there's something extremely demeaning about that. And so to provide people with the opportunity to dress up in a classic manner and to look like adults, to present themselves in that manner, there's something very attractive about that, because we haven't done that in our culture. That's been, I would say, downplayed in importance for certainly since the 1960s.
Now, he makes a really important point here, which I think they zipped right by, and that is that our culture idolizes the young, especially teens. You see them all over the place, really young men. And what do we see? You know, these models on all of these, pictures from men and women. It's all about the six-pack abs. It's all about, looking sexy, dressing in a way. It's about teen style. And as a grown adult, you don't need to dress like your teenager. You don't need to dress like your child. You need to dress like a man. Now, gents, today's video is brought to you by Vitaman. In case you haven't heard of them, they're making the best damn grooming products on the planet. And as an owner, I'm not biased at all. Seriously though, gents, go over to our website and look at what goes into these products. Everything is made in Australia, following really strict procedures and guidelines coming out of the EU. We use natural and organic ingredients to make amazing grooming products that you can see the difference. Our deodorant keeps you smelling great all day and doesn't use any aluminum. Look at your deodorant, look at the ingredients. You're gonna find aluminum listed. Our volumizing shampoo, perfect if you're over the age of 30, starting to deal with thinning hair. This right here is gonna make your hair look fuller and thicker. Most face scrubs out there are using these microplastic beads, not good for the environment. Our face scrub uses natural bamboo as an exfoliator. Now, gents, I can talk about these products all day long, but how about I put my money where my mouth is? Gents, down in the description of today's video, I've got a special link so that you can grab a sample kit for free. There's a limited quantity, and this deal is not going to be around forever, so use it or lose it. Again, click on that link down in the description to get your free sample set.
Who's to blame for that? Because you recall, anytime you would fly in an airplane, if you see old school pictures, people would dress in three-piece suits to go on an airplane. This is in the 60s, I assume. And then now you see someone like Mark Zuckerberg wear a T-shirt to give a speech in front of a TED Talk or something like that. So
well,
who's to blame for this dress
Some
down?
of it's just fashion. Fashion moves around, and it usually drifts from the top down. And so when formality becomes the norm, but that drifts down to...
So he makes a pretty general, interesting point about how fashion floats down. And for the most part, that is true. And you've constantly got the people at the top who are dictating fashion. They don't, once something goes down, all of a sudden they realize they don't want to look like the masses. So they do change it up. That's why I say, for guys, go with classic style, because it suits your body type. It never goes out of style, or, it takes like 50 to 100 years. But it's fashion that he's talking about there. And the fleeting winds of fashion, they move all over the place. That being said, if you really love fashion, then of course go for it. It's your thing. But I know for me, I like keeping it simple. I like wearing clothing just simply makes my body look better and makes me feel better about myself.
I was in Washington 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer than that. And one of the things that really struck me, all these people wandering around these great monuments, is all the men looked like overgrown 10-year-olds. They looked exactly like their kids.
Having been to Washington just a couple years ago, I have to concur. And I see this all over the United States, and actually in many parts of Europe as well, is that men are dressing just like their kids. And they're not meaning to match up exactly. It's just they look like boys in the terms of just wearing those T-shirts with shorts, running shoes, and a baseball cap.
I thought, this is weird that adults are dressing like children, and not good. And so some of it's fashion, but some of it's also that.
Is it exclusive in America? How about in Canada? What have you seen all over the world with this?
No, I don't think it's exclusive to America. I think it was more noticeable to me in Washington. And I think that's when it really hit me, because Washington is, in some sense, a place of pilgrimage.
When you hear the argument being made, it's the following argument. The argument is, look, you only have so much energy to make so many decisions throughout your day Do you want to be in front of the closet in the morning, picking and choosing what suit I'm going to wear to tie with what shirt and what tie? You know what? I'd much rather not consume my energy thinking about what outfit to put together.
All right, so the question actually seemed to have gotten missed, and that is Patrick Bet David is asking, what about the energy expended trying to put outfits together? Well, I always combat that by saying, well, have a uniform. And a uniform doesn't have to be boring. A uniform is just simply a default set of clothing that you go to that sends the message you want to send. You've thought through it. I know for me, I've got a number of jumpers, sweaters that I will be wearing in the videos during the winter simply because they pull over, they're easy. I don't have to iron anything. I do have shirts, which I'll wear more during the summer. You guys know my blue shirt. Did an entire video talking about how I've got like 20 of these blue shirts. But I do have clothing that, I think collars sometimes just really suit my face. Other times I can put on jackets. I've got my clothing laid out and it all is interchangeable. So there's not a lot of thought that goes into it. Pocket squares are always left right there in the jackets. You can set up and you can dress well without having to expend a whole lot of energy. And getting back to Mark Zuckerberg, he actually has shown that he has a uniform. Those shirts, which are very expensive, and his hoodies and everything that he puts together there is actually thought through. And he just wears the same thing again and again. And he is using clothing as a brand.
Felt good having your greens on, having your BDU on. There was something very attractive about having a suit on. Not for the audience, just even for yourself. Mm-hmm. You felt good having a uniform on. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I talked to my father about this years ago. He's a teacher, and he always wore a suit. And I asked him why one day, and he said, because it was his way of showing respect for the students.
So I like both of these examples. Patrick Bet David talks about a uniform in the military. And yes, when you wear your uniform, you just feel better about yourself. You look at yourself in the mirror, you are squared away. And then Jordan then talks about his father as a teacher, showing respect to others by dressing in a manner that really demands respect.
I mean, I'm not saying that everyone who doesn't dress in a suit is being disrespectful, but there's something about outfitting yourself for the task at hand.
And I'm happy that he says that, because we talk about suits, we talk about nice clothing, but nice clothing is, that's subjective. It really depends on your style. And one thing I stress here at Real Men, Real Style is to find your style. Don't just default to the fashion that is presented to you in the box stores. It's easy to wear a baseball cap because everyone is wearing a baseball cap. It's easy to wear running shoes with, shorts because everyone is wearing running, jeans with running shoes or shorts with running shoes. How about you think about, what? I'm a lawyer, and yes, I work in a construction firm, but still, I am the attorney. And the words I write and the contracts I go through, these are $1 million contracts. I want to instill trust and competence in the way that I dress, so choose your clothing accordingly.
And there's also something about attempting to put some effort into putting your best foot forward. And I don't really buy the it takes more time in the morning argument. It takes a bit more time, but once you, before I went on this tour, I went through all my clothing and I tossed out everything that didn't fit, and which included a number of suits that were old, and I had to organize them. And that took about a day to get my closet in order.
I love hearing this, that he spent a day. A guy like Jordan Peterson has written amazing books, by the way, and I'll link to his books down in the description. 12 Rules to Life. This will change your life. If you haven't read it, and I advise listening to the audiobook and reading the book at the same time so you really take in the information. It applies to men and women, just a solid book. Yeah, he took the time to get rid of clothing that didn't fit him, to actually lay out everything and go through. He created, in a sense, probably an interchangeable wardrobe, a wardrobe that is very easy to be able to take pieces, mix and match them, and to be able to have a series of outfits that every time you put it on, you're going to feel and look great.
But then from then on, it's actually a pleasure in some sense.
Do you do it yourself?
Well, the way he did it is Jordan, of course, went to Real Men, Real Style, and he learned all about me. No, just kidding. I don't know if he did. I'd like to think that he did. And guys, if you haven't been over to our website lately, go check it out. We relaunched the website last year, and the thing is looking amazing. I've gone through and I've remastered thousands of those articles. Guys, I talk a lot in these videos about stuff, but if you want to be able to read, if you want to grab some of our free ebooks, again, I'm going to put this down in the description of today's video, linking over to the website. Go check it out. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I am so proud of this website. It really is something that you can go there and find the information you need. We've got infographics, just a lot of great tools that you can use to become the man you know yourself to be.
Do I do?
Meaning, like, do you go through your closet, you do it yourself? Like, Pat has a very unique way of, like, you don't pack anymore, Pat, do you? Like, you have someone
No,
kind of
I
help
don't
you
like
out with that.
Packing is not my strength in my life. I have a lot. That's one of my weaknesses.
No, I still did that for the tour because I had to figure out what I was going to wear. And
Dude, Patrick, what is up? You don't even pack your own bags. I mean, I don't know if I'd ever give that up. Do you agree? Would anyone ever give up pack? Does anyone have their wife? I pack everything. I want to know where it's at. I don't know. To me, clothing and building your wardrobe is pretty intimate. That's why I always try to give people the tools to be able to do it themselves. Although I get it. Some people have, in the past paid me to come in and consult with them. Not something I do anymore. And if you ever need a consultant, just let me know. I can put you in touch with people I trust. That being said, yeah, I try to give people the tools. But Pat, come on, man. Pack your own bags.
But I've had people help me make clothing decisions, let's say. Now, it's often people who would like to make suits for me. So I have that as an advantage. But I did that pretty much on my own.
Now, gents, if you're enjoying today's video, if you are a JP fan, do me a favor and smash the like button. That way, I know to make more videos like this. So what video to watch next? How about my reaction to Raphael Schneider over at the Gentleman's Gazette? Seriously, this guy is, you find out what I think of him in this video. Actually, we got a little bit of really cool ending to it. So if you haven't watched this video, go check it out. It's a good one.